Hello everybody, welcome to the Centbee Show. I'm your host, Lorien Gamaroff, and my co-host is Kage, Ntshingila. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mr. G.
I'm very good, thank you very much. I'm feeling pretty pumped. What's been cool is our viewers have been growing, and it's starting to feel like a real show that's coming together, and we're getting some nice fans as well.
Yeah, def, man. I'm also seeing that because when we started, I think we were on a few subscribers. Now we've actually grown, and with every show, and that's like quite awesome, especially with our previous shows. Guys, if you haven't subscribed, come on. This is the time you should be checking out our previous episodes, catch up. You know, I mean, there's still a whole lot more coming. So if you haven't seen the previous episodes, you're missing out. So yeah, you know the drill by now. Yeah, Mr. G, you know, so like I was saying, it's pretty awesome that the viewers are growing. And
our subs, I think we cracked 500.
Yeah, the subscribers.
Yeah,
that's pretty
still
cool.
pretty puny though. So please share the Centbee Show with your friends, especially if you want to know about Bitcoin and the crypto space. There's so much misinformation out there, and we obviously stick to the original idea of Bitcoin, which is Satoshi's vision, Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah.
And so if you do want to know more about the original idea of Bitcoin, and you want to move away from that whole crypto craze that's been happening over the last few years, definitely subscribe to the show and share it with your friends and family, and I'm sure you'll learn something.
Definitely. Yeah, guys, welcome to another episode of the Honey Dripping Show. Yeah, Ms. G, this week we're going to be tapping into, like, Centbee, I mean, it's a global wallet. And we have realized that it's available everywhere across the world. We've also had, like, some fair share of experience of using it in other countries, you know. So my question to you is it really available everywhere?
Yeah, we always talk about Centbee as a global mobile money wallet, and because it uses BSV as the digital cash, of course that is inherently global. Mm-hmm. We are in every country technically, because BSV, really all you need is an internet connection. But as a business, we still have to follow the rules and regulations that either the specific countries have or the banks have in those countries. Particularly because governments generally have rules around which other countries they want to do business with, and some of those countries become sanctioned. And so although Bitcoin is available everywhere, we are forced to restrict some users in certain countries from using the Centbee services. So there are certain countries like Iran and North Korea and Cuba. I'm trying to think of the others. Sudan, that's right, and Syria. And so those countries, you aren't allowed to use Centbee. And so we have a restriction there. And this is not something that we enjoy doing, of course. You know, we are neutral around a lot of things, but we still have to behave responsibly.
Definitely, yeah.
And so some of those countries, you'll find that you won't be able to register on Centbee. But then that's in terms of the government level of things. But even banks within countries have lists themselves of countries that they categorize as high risk. And so for those countries, we have to also put controls and restrictions into some of the services. So, for example, in some of those countries, I think Laos and Venezuela, because of our banking relationships, we have to also restrict usage of those services. So you wouldn't be able to top up and purchase anything or send bank accounts in those countries. So this is not something that we like to do.
Yeah,
but
kind of sucks, man. Because hence I was asking a question. I was asking it based on knowing the fact that there are countries that are uncomfortable with crypto, basically, you know, and there has to be some form of regulation and control on how actually people access that. So that's why I'm asking that question. Like, are we really available everywhere?
Yeah. So, I mean, all the other countries, how many countries are there? 100 and plus.
Yeah, 175 plus.
175 plus countries.
That's like across the globe, literally.
Yeah, so every other country we are available in.
Yeah.
That means that you can download Centbee and you can send BSV to your wallet, and then you can go ahead and use it.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have all our services available in every country. So, for example, there's a handful of countries that you can send money to, a bank account or a mobile money account or a cash collection.
Yeah.
And to see those countries, you can go to our website, or you can go into the Centbee wallet and you can go and try and add a bank account.
Yeah.
And then you'll see the countries. And there's a lot of African countries there.
Quite a lot, yeah.
There's the United States. You can send money to a bank account there. In Brazil, Egypt.
Canada.
Not Canada at this stage.
Is it?
We don't have Canada.
Okay.
We're hoping to get Canada soon.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of countries that you can send money to, but we're not available in every country. But this is, of course, something we're working on, and we're going to keep on adding countries. So just listen out for news on that.
Yeah.
And then also when it comes to purchasing things, so brands and retailers, of course, we've got a ton of countries available there.
A lot, yeah.
And every country is different.
Yeah.
So in some countries, you might only be able to purchase
mobile
recharge, or electricity. But then in other countries, you can go and shop at McDonald's or Gap.
Everywhere.
There's many options
Big brands
available
that are available there. And that's the best part about shopping with Centbee, because it's not limited, like there's literally categories and categories and categories. Like you can literally shop for pet stuff, school stuff, whether you're a gamer or a reader, there's literally something for everyone there.
That's right. Depending on the country, obviously the bigger countries like the United States or places in Europe, there's plenty available there, so give that a shot. But other countries, you might find that the catalog is either empty or that it's very slim. But of course, this is something we are constantly growing, and so keep checking back for that.
Yeah.
And then top-ups as well, of course. So being able to
definitely.
top up your wallet with from your bank account or credit card.
Yeah.
There's a number of countries available for top-ups in credit card, a number of countries where you can send money from your bank account, but this is, of course, also something that we are constantly expanding. And as our license is on its way, when we receive that, that's going to make it a lot easier, I think, to
start these conversations with third parties, actually.
Exactly. Going to the gift card aggregators or the merchants and saying, look, we are a licensed business. Can we sell products of your products via Centbee app?
You know what I'm going to be saying by now. You should be having the Centbee app downloaded on your phone. If you don't, just do it right now. And remember to subscribe, link up your friends. You know the drill by now, man. The Honey Dripping Show. Remember to subscribe, show some love.
Mobile money on fire.
Mobile money on fire, Mr. G. We're going to be jumping into our second segment. And this segment, Mr. G, is going to be one of those segments that answers a lot of people's questions in this crypto space. And the question is Bitcoin money?
Yeah.
Because we really want to understand like the whole idea of Bitcoin being money and how it also ties back to, the whole speculative nature of BTC and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The question is Bitcoin money? Now, of course, we always have to say that not all Bitcoins are equal.
Yeah.
And whenever we refer to Bitcoin, we refer to the original design of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto's design. That's why it's called Satoshi's vision.
Definitely.
His idea of what Bitcoin should be.
Yeah.
But the question now, of course, is what makes it money, and why should we think of it as money?
Yeah.
Now, I think the best place to start really is in the days before there was money, and go through the evolution.
Yeah, let's take it back, in fact, because we need to understand what is money in that aspect. Because currently, with what is happening with the whole transition of digital money and stuff, like we need to sort of like compare it to the whole history of how money has been viewed as a form of value. So like we need to bring it like from history till today.
Yeah.
So I'd like to actually like unfold.
Start at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, in the days before there was money, who knows how long ago that was, people didn't use money. They would just go and barter. So if I had something and I wanted something that you had, we would go and do an exchange. So let's just say you had a cow and I had some chickens. Then we would go meet somewhere and I would trade my chickens for your cow.
Yeah.
And so that's really where things got going, the whole idea of bartering.
Yeah.
But when it comes to bartering, you've always got a problem. where if I have something that you want, but you don't have anything that I want, then how do we do the trade?
Yeah, that's a problem.
The technical term for that is the coincidence of wants. In other words, there has to be a coincidence that I have to have what you want, and you have to have what I want. And if we don't have what each other wants, then we can't do a trade.
There's no trade happening, basically.
Yes. Now it gets complicated because now I have to find somebody who does have something that you want, and then I have to trade with them first
before I come back and trade with you.
Yes. And who knows how difficult that could be. Maybe it's 3 or 4 things I've got to go and do a trade for. So bartering just didn't really work very well in terms of trade because of this coincidence of wants. And so people needed to find things that were more universal, or at least universally accepted and valued. And so what we see throughout history is a gradual evolution to find that thing that everybody generally wanted. And if you found that commodity, so something of value that people could use, then the more universally accepted it was, and the more generally valuable people found it, then that became the medium of exchange, the thing that people could use that could be a replacement for the whole bartering system. So when we think about what has been used as money throughout history, salt was a good example. Because if I have chickens and you've got a cow, but you don't want any chickens, at least you want the salt. You know, we both want salt on our beef and on our chicken.
Definitely.
So that's why salt became a very useful money. Because it was something that everybody wanted and everybody found value in. And so it was easy for me to then trade my chickens for salt and then come to you later on and say, look, I've got some salt. And even if you don't need the salt right now, you could say, all right, well, I'll accept it because I know I'll be able to then go and take that and trade it for something else.
Or even use it because you might even be the person who needs it at some point.
Yes, that's what makes it something that's universally valuable, great as a form of money. Because then there's not a question of, do I need this now? Maybe I can use it later, or I can trade it for something else. And that's really what got us started on finding in history what was the best commodity to be used as money. And of course the world has gone through all sorts of things depending on where you are in history, where you are in the world. Seashells were used as money, and a whole lot of other things have been used as money. But what we have found is that the world eventually settled on gold as money because it was the most universally accepted thing of value, but also it has very interesting properties that makes it a good form of money.
So Mr. G, I mean, you speak of certain properties that currency should hold or money should hold, you know, and what are those properties?
Well, when we think about trading, what's very important in a commodity that is useful as money is that you want it first and foremost to be something that lasts. If you give me something that perishes, it doesn't have a long shelf life, then that's not a very good form of money because I can't then wait long enough to be able to find somebody to then give it to in trade. And there's a time limit. So a very important thing about money is that it needs to be durable. It needs to be able to survive a reasonable amount of time. And that's why when we look at history, the things that people used as money generally were things that could last. Salt can last quite a long time. And of course, there are other commodities like oil or wheat. But of course, those things have different shelf lives. So something that is useful as money really needs to be something that can be durable enough to last. And then another important thing is, if I have a useful commodity that I want to use as money, I need to be able to divide it up. So if I want to buy, let's say I wanted to buy your chickens, and I've got a cow, I only want to buy half a cow's worth of chickens.
That would be difficult to divide.
Well, I could chop the cow up in half, but
that's the thing, because now I'll be forced to have beef the whole week. Right. This thing is perishable.
Yeah, so you can't just cut it up in half, because you want to keep your cow and you want to keep it. Yeah. So a cow isn't a very good form of money, because it's very hard to be divided up. And if I only want to spend half of my cow, how can I do that? So another very important aspect of money is that it needs to be divisible. You need to be able to divide it up easily and then give half or a quarter of, or whatever it is that you want to buy. So we've got the durability, and we've got the divisibility. And then another very important thing is it needs to be something that can be conveniently used as a medium of exchange.
This must be portable, basically.
Portable. I must be able to hand it over to you easily. It has to be something that's maybe small enough that it doesn't require shipping and trucks and all that kind of thing. So you need to be able to have something that can be convenient to use as money. Again, cows aren't very useful because they are big. Chickens are flappy and need to be fed.
I can imagine a scene like back in the days, like literally going to buy groceries with the herd.
If you want to buy a car or something. So the very important thing as well is it needs to be a good medium of exchange, something that you can easily carry with you and hand it over to purchase something. So these are the aspects that make something good money. And of course, another very important thing is it needs to be something that you can use to easily price things. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if we look at items, they have different values. And if I'm using money, let's say I'm using salt, that's quite a convenient way of pricing things, because I can say that this item is 1 cup of salt, this item is 10 cups of salt. It's a very easy way of being able to measure the value of things. If I want to understand what is the value of this, it's 10 cups of salt. So now I've got a good way of using it as what's called a unit of account. In other words, a way to measure and price the value of things. So again, when we look at a counterexample, diamonds aren't a very good unit of account, because diamonds are all different. Even if I have a kilogram of diamonds and then another kilogram of diamonds, you can't say that they're the same. Some might be shinier and
polished, some are not.
So they don't have that kind of uniformity that makes it easy to be able to use them to measure the value of things. So diamonds have never been good money. But again, going back to something like gold, gold is great because you can use it as a weight. You can say that this is worth 1 ounce of gold and this is worth 5 ounces of gold. So these are the very important things that make a commodity, something that is useful, that people want, good money. The fact that it's durable, that it's divisible, it's a medium of exchange. I can exchange it, I can trade it. It is a unit of account. It's a way of measuring the value of things. So that's why throughout history we've seen all these different things, these different commodities, these different things of value over time change. Seashells, salt,
buttons,
whatever people found to fulfill those requirements of money, those are the things that became money over time. But ultimately now what the world has sort of settled on, at least it did until a few decades ago, is that gold was a very good form of money because it lasts a very long time. It doesn't corrode, it doesn't rust. You can put it at the bottom of the ocean for a year and it'll still be great when you pull it out. It's divisible. You can melt down that ounce. You can have 2 half ounces. It's a very good unit of account because you can then say this is worth a weight of gold and this is worth an extra weight of gold. And a medium of exchange, of course. You can have a gold coin in your pocket and you can go and hand it over. So what we have found throughout history is that people settled on the best form of money being something that has all those qualities. Also, I guess a very important thing is that it keeps its value as well. There's a phrase, the store of value. So when I have gold, if that, or another form of money, if the price of that fluctuates wildly, like let's say I use salt, and now a new shipment of salt comes in on the market, and now everybody's got salt. Clearly the value of that salt is going to go down. So if you have money that can vary wildly in price, in value, then that doesn't form a very good form of money.
True, yeah.
But gold, of course, throughout history has been extremely stable. Famously, people say that for 1,000 years ago you could have bought a suit for a gold coin.
Yeah.
Now you can buy a suit for a gold coin now, and a nice suit.
Nice suit, yeah.
So these are the things that make something money. It started off being a useful commodity that people found value in.
Yeah.
That was universally and widely accepted, because that would then give you confidence to take it yourself and know that there would be somebody else who would take it from you later on.
Yeah.
Something having all of those qualities.
It makes sense, Ms. G. I mean, it's quite clear, looking at the history. But what I would like to understand is, when did paper come into play? Because if we look at like money, its value standard was gold, right? And even so, people were confident in what they held, even if you didn't have to trade with it like at that immediate time, but you knew that probably in a week or a month, you still had the same value of what you may need to trade with.
Yeah.
But when did paper now come into play?
Right. Yeah. So now, of course, we don't use gold anymore, and people have been using paper currencies for a long, long time. So where did that come from?
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to understand. If you have gold and you are storing gold, of course, there's a security risk there.
Definitely.
And at the end of the day, it is metal in your pocket that it can be quite heavy.
It can be, I can imagine, yeah.
Yes. So what people started then doing is saying, well, look, I don't want to store all my gold in my house where it can be stolen. What I want to do is I want to take it somewhere where there is a strong vault and somebody who can look after it for me.
It's safe, yeah.
Yeah. So in the old days when things got started, people would then take their gold to somebody like a goldsmith who would have a vault on their premises. Obviously, they're keeping gold and working with gold, so they need a safe place to keep that gold.
So that was basically the first ideas of banks.
Right, exactly. So what people would do is they would go and hand their gold over to the goldsmith, and then the goldsmith would give them a paper receipt, which just said, this receipt is linked to a gold coin in the vault. And the goldsmith would say, anybody who brings this receipt to me will be able to get that gold coin.
Yeah.
In much the same way as when we look at dry cleaners. Dry cleaners take your coat, they give you a receipt, and anybody who brings that receipt back will then get the coat. And so that's precisely how the first form of paper money came about. All it was a kind of warehouse receipt. I'm going to store my gold with you. You give me a receipt for that. And if I bring that receipt back to you at any time, I'll get my gold.
Okay.
And of course, now that you have the receipt, if you want to go and buy something, you can go to that person and say, look, I don't have the gold on me right now, but if you take this receipt to that goldsmith, he will give you that gold coin. And you would say, all right, that seems fair enough. I'll take that piece of paper. And then you would go get that gold coin. But you don't have to do that. You could then take that piece of paper and say to the next person, I've got this receipt. You can go and redeem it for gold anytime. And that's how eventually paper gets circulated in the economy.
I see.
Everybody's holding a receipt for gold at the goldsmith or in the bank. And that's where banknotes came from, where people would store their money, their gold in the bank. The bank would then give them a receipt. And in the olden days, money used to say, that the currencies that we use today would say, I promise to pay the bearer on demand 10 whatevers, but that was a weight of gold that was sitting in the bank. And so people became very used to this idea of exchanging currency, the paper, because they knew that if they ever wanted to, they could go back to the bank and say, please, I would like my gold. And the bank would then have to honor that. And that's really where this whole idea of paper came from, paper money. Of course, the world went off the gold standard, and that's another topic for another day. But essentially, what happened was the banks used to honor that deal. That if you had their banknote, they'd give you that gold. When the world went off the gold standard, then of course that paper money stopped being linked to gold, and now we just have what's called a fiat currency, which is just paper that doesn't link to anything and has created this world of inflation that we have today. So now paper money was linked to a commodity, gold, in the bank. Of course, in this digital age that we live in today, we now have digital currencies.
Yes.
And the idea there, or it should have been, is that those digital currencies were then linked to some commodity like gold. But of course, we live in a world now where there's no gold backing on these currencies.
That's quite scary, because if you're saying that, that means most of these digital currencies are literally valueless.
Well, all currencies that we have today are intrinsically valueless.
I just wanted you to say that.
Yes, I mean, none of them are linked to actual
value,
commodities or gold in the bank. That all ended decades ago. And so we live in this fiat currency world where really the government has told us that we need to accept these notes. But of course, there's this added effect where now they are not tied to a commodity like gold, at least the currencies aren't, and that then leads to an inflationary world where money can just be printed. And of course, now that everything's digital, you don't even have to print the paper to be able to use it.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to have a form of value into something that doesn't have value, because it seems like an idea that some people just came up with that will enrich them.
Yeah. Well, let's talk now specifically about the cryptocurrencies, because of course we've had digital currencies in the form of credit cards and bank EFTs. So we all live in a digital world with banking as it stands.
Yeah.
But now what we see is that cryptocurrencies have come along.
Yeah.
And they are saying that they are a superior form of money. So the question is, well, if it's a superior form of money, and it's not a fiat currency where it's just paper that's printed in a bank, what makes it better as money?
Because I wanted to ask that, because based on all the qualities that money should have, I mean, we can sort of like try to break it down and try to, compare with the digital currencies. Like, does it have all those values for it to qualify to be actual money?
Yeah, does it have the properties that money is supposed to have?
Yeah.
And if we just go through them, if you look at the durability and the divisibility, well, of course, because it's digital, it makes it long lasting, because there's not going to be any rust or anything like that in the digital world, as long as the network is maintained.
Yeah.
And it's divisible because it's really just numbers at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's better than actual money, because we can literally break it down, like
you can divide it
into
fractions. And it's a good medium of exchange, better than paper, because of course now it's digital, so anywhere you can send digital message. It's super portable. So it definitely ticks those boxes. And when we look at so we've said the unit of account, it's a good way of measuring the value of things, and all those other properties. So on the surface, it feels like that when you look at crypto, then you think, well, of course, it definitely checks all the boxes to be money. But a very important question we then have to ask is, well, then what is the commodity value of that money? What is the intrinsic value? In other words, the thing that is actually valuable about it. Because you can have it being all those other things, a medium of exchange and so on. But if it doesn't have any intrinsic value, then one of those very important criteria are not checked, and you can't call it money.
Definitely,
Now, when it comes to crypto, one of the things that they will say is that, well, you can't inflate it. So it's better than the money we have today, the currencies that we use, the dollars and all that, because those can be inflated by central banks and banks, but crypto can't, because it has this property of being fixed in its supply. We all know how much there is. Like in Bitcoin, that's 21 million Bitcoins. Obviously, you can divide those into Satoshis. So the cryptosphere says, well, what we have is we have a better form of money now, or a sound form of money. Sound means you can't inflate it and debase the value. But we still have to ask the question, well, then where is its commodity value? Where is the actual thing in that crypto that is the value that we are transacting with, or the value that we are exchanging. Because with currencies, with paper money, of course, the value wasn't in the paper. It was supposed to be in the vault or in the bank, the gold that was sitting there. And so fiat currency means that we don't have that link. But cryptos seem strangely to be more like the fiat currencies that are not linked to anything intrinsically valuable, because nobody can point out what is it, what is the value that we are storing in this currency. And so that's a big question we have to ask. Is there any value in these cryptos, or at the end of the day, do they fulfill 90% of the criterion that makes something money, but is there one of those things missing, i.e. the intrinsic value?
All right, Mr. G, I mean, with what has been said, it's clear that, like you're saying, BTC has sort of like the nature of the current fiat system, and that is still a problem to, the actual real world use case. So if we take it to BSV, being the original protocol, is it like real money?
When we look at Bitcoin itself, at least the way Satoshi designed it, interestingly enough, Bitcoin does actually have a commodity value. It has an intrinsic value that we can look at and describe and understand. Now, when we look at BTC, of course, we see how the BTC network, what they've done is they have artificially constrained it by keeping the blocks small, which means that creating transactions on BTC is very expensive. And so the narrative around BTC is that it's not money anymore, so to speak, or it's not cash, which is what the original inventors said it was, but it's now what they call a digital gold. So why do they call it digital gold? Well, when we look at gold today, of course there is industrial gold that people use in electronics and dentistry and that sort of thing, and jewelry, but a vast majority of the gold that is on Earth isn't being used in industry. It's being kept in a locked box somewhere, in a giant vault somewhere, and people don't actually use it. So what BTC and a lot of crypto people think is that, well, it's not valuable because of its use case. It's something that we can store safely, that will never corrode and never dissolve and never disappear, and it has a fixed supply. And so that makes it exactly like gold that is stored in a vault, something that we can keep, but we don't necessarily need to use. So they have then kind of said, well, we now believe that Bitcoin, at least BTC, is kind of like that form of gold. And that means Bitcoin is better than gold, because not only is it a medium of exchange and all those sorts of things, and a fixed supply, it's now something that we can keep digitally. So we don't even need a vault to store it in, and have the problem of now paying somebody to look after it or having to deal with a security issue. We've got all the qualities of that gold that's in the vault, except one more, and that's the fact that it's digital. And that makes it way better, because now I can keep it on a hard drive, I can memorize words, and I can have it anytime. So BTC think that what they have now is gold plus one property, digital. But what they've missed is that gold itself is intrinsically valuable. It has a commodity value. It is a useful metal that people know will be desired by somebody for something in the future. It's not that gold is just an idea that is sitting there. Gold is a useful commodity.
It is.
And that's why people have faith that they can keep it and it'll store its value. In other words, its utility for the future. But BTC has no commodity value. You can't use the ledger. You can't create transactions that are cheap. So what you have to do is you just have to keep it somewhere. You have to hodl it. And the hope is that it will then grow in value over time.
But that is quite funny, because, I mean, you mentioned all the properties that gold has, and BTC like is nowhere close to that.
Well, it has most of them, except it just doesn't exist. It doesn't have an intrinsic use case. It doesn't have a utility about it.
That's what I'm saying. It's non-existent in that sense, because for the fact that there's no sense of it being valuable.
Yes, there's no pudding.
Nothing.
that you can eat.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's all a bunch of dudes speculating, assuming the value. But
yes,
let's drill it down to basics.
Strip it down. Where's the value?
Exactly.
What does it do? What commodity value does it have?
I see none.
Well, that's the thing. That's when we're talking about BTC and most of crypto.
Yeah.
But why is Bitcoin SV different?
Yeah.
Why is it a form of money that has intrinsic value? Well, the reason for that is because of the blockchain ledger that it has. That is a useful tool. It is a useful thing that people can use to write transactions to, can use it in so many use cases like security and supply chains. The fact that Bitcoin SV has a ledger that is useful in other industries, in other situations, and the fact that to use that ledger to be able to make use of its valuable properties, you now need to get the BSV token, because the only way you can use the Bitcoin ledger is by acquiring the Bitcoin token so that you can use it to create transactions on that blockchain. Suddenly now we have a commodity, something that is useful, and we can now know that if we have Bitcoin SV tokens, we know that somebody out there is going to want to be able to acquire those tokens in the future because they're going to want to use the blockchain. They're going to want to use it for something in their business.
What I'm picking up from all of this is that if we take it back from inception, like the whole bartering and trading, era, and like bringing it forward to today, I see like BSV as the ultimate innovation, basically, because we've never had a public ledger before. Now that we do, and it also shows the value of how the ledger itself is utilized, whether it's businesses being built or stuff being tokenized on the blockchain.
Right. It's a universal appeal. Exactly. You see, the blockchain is a universal public ledger, as you said.
Yeah.
And that means it gives you more confidence because there are more people out there that would want to use that blockchain.
Yeah.
It's global.
Yeah.
And so when we look at blockchain, if it does obviously become universally useful to people,
it will.
That's a question that we have to ask. Will this blockchain become something that people want to use in their businesses and for all sorts of industries?
Yeah.
Because if it does, and that means now we've got a limited supply of BSV tokens, we then have confidence that going into the future, those tokens are going to be desired. And now, not only do we have all those great properties that makes it good money, but we also now have a commodity value. Something that is useful that people can actually consume or use in their day-to-day lives.
Mm-hmm.
So this really does represent an incredibly useful form of money that is convenient and, of course, can make payments in a digital world, especially micro payments, small value payments, cross-border. This is a tremendous achievement and something, of course, that we're very excited about.
I mean, for me, it's quite clear, because if we take it back to the history of money, clearly Satoshi understood the real value of what money is, because if you take it to the white paper, it stated that it's peer-to-peer cash. So BTC, on the other hand, there's no form of value or activity that sort of encourages that form of value in in it.
The word utility.
Utility, and for me that is the key there, right there, that sort of clarifies that this is not the type of money we should be looking into, but the only one is BSV, because it ticks all the boxes from all the qualities, all the attributes money should have, BSV has.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, nobody should look at it as a savings. We are still very early in the evolution of Bitcoin. And of course, we've seen wild swings in price as people have been speculating. But as we keep saying on the show, this is not about an investment. It really, at this stage, it still needs to prove itself.
Yeah.
We need to see businesses coming on board using the Bitcoin ledger for their business use cases.
Yeah.
And when we start seeing that, then we can grow in confidence and think, well, this is something that's here to stay, and will be useful to people going forward. And now we can start looking at it as a real form of money that has a fundamental, long-standing future ahead of it. So we want to make sure that people, when they use Centbee, don't think of it as now they are creating a savings account. It really is meant to be used as cash. But we are extremely excited about the future.
Definitely.
I think that BSV has a tremendous number of very valuable use cases.
Yeah.
Of course, crypto has kept Bitcoin back because of all this speculation and scamming and fakery that's been going on.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, crypto has really meant that Bitcoin hasn't had a chance to really take off. Crypto has spooked the regulators and businesses and merchants out there. Nobody wants to go near it yet because they believe the mainstream narrative that it's this anonymous thing that makes people lose money. And so we really need to get through this, get through the crypto phase, which is coming to an end, thankfully, soon. We don't know when, but
soon.
It doesn't look like it's going to last for much longer.
Yeah.
But although who knows how long. But when we get past that, and we can demonstrate that BSV represents an extremely useful tool that regulators can be comfortable with, that businesses can be comfortable with, that merchants can be comfortable with. If we can see more companies being licensed, we're about to be licensed.
Yeah.
So we're spearheading that movement of creating a business that's a responsible business that is using Bitcoin the way it was meant to be used. Once we can move beyond crypto, I think then there's going to be a flood of excitement and enthusiasm around Bitcoin, the way it was originally invented.
Yeah.
And we're going to see all these use cases start flowering and the businesses being transformed. And then, of course, it'll be clear that Bitcoin is an incredible commodity.
Yeah.
And the Bitcoin token, the BSV token, is a great form of money as well as cash.
I mean, guys, every week it's becoming clearer that BSV is the only Bitcoin that ever is. So if you actually want to experience the power of BSV, download the Centbee app. Don't hesitate. It's available on the stores right now. Also remember to subscribe, show some love. Thanks for that, Mr. G. That was insightful. We deep dived into the history of where money really comes from. And I think also our question has been answered in terms of, is BSV really money? And I believe it is, based on all the properties we've mentioned that it holds, and based also on the white paper. And I believe that it is based also on the fact that there's a company like us. It clearly shows that we are also following like the blueprint of what Bitcoin SV should be and what it's really meant to be. So we're going to be stepping into this week's user questions and feedback on socials. Yeah, guys, remember just to keep the love coming in. We appreciate your feedback. Remember to drop us on socials, on X. It's at Centbee. Or also, if you have any queries or issues, hit us up on support@centbee.com, yeah? So yeah, our first user question is from Yusuf. So Yusuf, Yusuf is saying it's been long that you didn't distribute rewards.
Yes, honey rewards.
Yeah.
Yes, we paused that campaign for now, but we will be bringing back honey rewards, especially for referrals. We want to make sure that users can share Centbee and get rewarded for that. And of course, the person that you share Centbee with will also earn some honey rewards, which is spendable BSV, and you can go and spend that in the Centbee shop. But also we want the person who was referred to also get some BSV so they can see how cool BSV is and they can spend it on something and get hooked. But we haven't sent out any honey rewards in the last while, but don't worry, that's going to come back soon. So keep on sharing, keep on referring it to your friends, and we certainly will reward you for that.
Yeah, I was about to say, Yusuf, don't let it discourage you from sharing and linking up your friends, because you're still gonna be rewarded in the future, in the near future. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for the comment. So Mr. G, actually we have one question for this week. We've been getting some much love. So our first one comes from Henry. So they're saying, I love Centbee, the lifestyle wallet.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. That's what we want to do. We want to activate your lifestyle.
Yeah. Guys, remember to check out the Centbee app on the stores. If you don't have it, I can bet you that your life is not activated yet. So just download it, get plugged, explore the power of BSV through Centbee. Mobile money on fire. So yeah, our second one comes from Aileen. She's saying Centbee fulfills all the criteria that make Bitcoin SV a useful cash system that's compliant, low cost, and fun to use.
Yeah, exactly. We are all about compliance because we know that if we want to have a product that is useful to people, that they can trust, and that we're allowed to offer as a service, as well as finding merchants and partners, we need to stick to the rules and that. So we're very careful about regulation. We are a financial company, financial services company, and so we want to make sure that we behave responsibly, because this is, of course, what Bitcoin was meant to be. It wasn't meant to be anonymous. It wasn't meant to be a crypto. It was meant to be cash. And of course, there's rules around cash. And so we are certainly following Satoshi's vision in that regard.
Cool. Thanks for the love, Eileen. It's also quite awesome that, our users also are picking up like Centbee as a reputable, institution that they can affiliate themselves with.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Eileen.
So our third one comes from Drake. So Drake is saying it was indeed a great show. Centbee's giving good vibes. I'm sure they're talking about our previous episode here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad. We got a lot of views on the last episode, and we appreciate that. So keep on sharing, liking, and subscribing. When we get encouragement from you, we really feel amped and want to keep on bringing the goodness to you guys. This is not just a Centbee infomercial. This is a show that we want to share real valuable information that can help you on your journey in Bitcoin and to navigate through the shark-infested waters of crypto. So thanks for your encouragement, and it really helps us and makes us inspired to keep producing these videos.
Cool. Thanks for that, Drake. And our fourth one actually comes from Sangster. He's saying, excellent, feel good news.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much. Thanks for those great comments.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for your comments and feedback. Yeah, remember open door policy. We value your opinion. So yeah, keep it coming. So remember to also check out our app on the stores. If you haven't updated, I suggest you do so because you could be missing out. And for those who don't have Centbee app, you are missing out. Download it now. And also remember to comment and show some love. You know the drill by now.
Yeah, cool. Also just want to add that for people who do have questions, just check out our in-app chat support. If you just open the main menu, or I think anywhere on the screen, if you tap the more button at the top right, you tap the help. Then you'll have chat help, and you can go and chat and ask questions, and you should get some answers. If you don't, then of course just email us at support@centbee.com, and we'll be able to help you through that. Kage, but thanks again for the episode. It was nice to touch on this whole concept of money and why Bitcoin SV is money. This is something that is a big misunderstanding, I think, even with the crypto experts out there talking about sound money and BTC and crypto being sound money. Don't forget that if it doesn't have any real value, or if it's not linked to something of real value, then how can it be valuable? That's just a basic rule, right? And of course, we believe that BSV has real value because the blockchain, the BSV blockchain, just seems to have these incredible qualities that make new business models and microtransactions possible. So we think it's something that really does have that fundamental value.
Definitely. I mean, the Centbee wallet.
And Centbee wallet makes it easy to use.
You know what I'm saying?
So thanks everybody for joining us on this Centbee show. We hope you enjoyed it, and please tell your friends to come and watch, and we hope to see you soon. All right.